Truly premium is something different. It is the quality of a space where you cannot immediately identify what was done, only that something was done completely right. This is how to get there. The definition of premium in small apartment design has shifted significantly in the years leading into 2026, and understanding the shift is the first step toward achieving the quality it describes. Premium used to mean expensive looking. The right neutral palette, the right textures, the right lighting formula applied consistently enough to produce a room that photographs well and receives broad approval. That version of premium is now, for anyone paying attention, instantly recognizable as a formula, and a formula, however well executed, is the opposite of premium. In 2026, premium means something more demanding and more interesting. It means a space that feels completely specific, that could only belong to the person who lives there, that reflects genuine decisions rather than approved choices, and that prioritizes the experience of living in it over the appearance of showing it. The premium small apartment of 2026 is not trying to look like a hotel. It is trying to feel like the best possible version of a home, and those are very different ambitions that produce very different results. The warm, neutral palette that dominated small apartment design for the better part of a decade, the warm whites, the soft greys, the muted tones that offend no one and express nothing, has reached the end of its cultural moment. Not because it stopped working aesthetically, but because it became so ubiquitous that it stopped communicating anything except familiarity with what is currently popular. The 2026 premium small apartment palette has moved in two directions simultaneously. The first is toward deeper, more committed color, the specific dark tones we saw in New York studios, the deep terracottas of Mediterranean spaces, the forest greens and tobacco browns that communicate conviction rather than caution. The second is toward a more refined version of neutrality, not the warm white of the formula but the specific, living tones of natural materials. The warm cream of undyed linen, the amber of unfinished walnut, the particular gray of aged plaster that has absorbed years of natural light. Both directions share one quality. They were chosen, not selected from a safe palette, not defaulted to because they work with everything, but deliberately decided upon because they create a specific feeling that the person who lives there wanted to create. The principle that separates every genuinely premium small apartment from every formula-driven one is not a palette or a lighting system or a specific combination of materials. It is artistic intention, the quality of a space where the decisions were made not to achieve an approved result but to express something genuine. Artistic intention does not require a large budget or a background in design. It requires only the willingness to ask a different question. Not, does this look expensive? But, does this mean something? Not, does this follow the current formula? But, does this belong to me specifically in a way that nothing belonging to anyone else would look exactly like this? The premium small apartments that are genuinely worth remembering, that stay with you after you have left them, share this quality without exception. The art was chosen because it was needed, not because it filled a wall. The object on the shelf is there because its absence would be felt, not because it completed a composition. The color on the walls was decided upon because living with it every day matters, not because it coordinates with the sofa. Different philosophies, one underlying quality, and it is available to any apartment at any budget the moment the right question is asked. If there is one area where spending more money in a small apartment consistently and reliably produces a premium result that cannot be faked by less expensive alternatives, it is natural materials, specifically the surfaces that are touched, walked on, and encountered daily rather than simply seen from a distance. The difference between a synthetic fabric sofa and a natural linen or wool sofa is not primarily visual. It is tactile, the way the material feels under the hand, the way it breathes in warm weather and holds warmth in cool, the way it ages over years into something more interesting rather than something more worn. The same distinction applies to floors, to textiles, to the objects on shelves. Natural materials carry within them a quality that the brain recognizes as genuine even before conscious analysis. A quality of realness that synthetic alternatives, however well designed, cannot replicate. In a small apartment, where every surface is encountered closely and repeatedly over years of daily life, this distinction matters more than in any other residential context. The investment in one natural material, one real linen sofa, one solid wood floor, one hand-thrown ceramic collection, delivers more premium feeling across more years than any number of less expensive alternatives. From the paper lanterns of Tokyo to the layered lamps of a Parisian studio to the dramatic pendant of a New York apartment, every premium small space we have examined shares one approach to lighting that is so consistent across cultures and contexts that it has to be considered a universal principle rather than a stylistic preference. The complete elimination of overhead lighting as the primary light source. Overhead lighting flattens every surface it illuminates uniformly, eliminates the shadows that give rooms depth and texture, and produces a quality of brightness that the brain associates with functional spaces, offices, retail environments, hospitals, rather than with the quality of rest and inhabitation that makes a home feel premium. The warm, multi-source, low-height lighting that replaces it does the opposite. It creates depth through shadow, defines zones through pools of light, and produces a quality of atmosphere that makes every premium small apartment feel, regardless of its size or its contents, like a space worth being inside. 2 floor lamps, 2 table lamps, and 3 candles will do more for the premium quality of a small apartment than any single piece of furniture available at any price point. The most counterintuitive piece of advice available for making a small apartment feel premium in 2026 is this. Before adding anything, remove something. Before buying a new lamp, take 3 objects off the shelf it sits beside. Before introducing a new textile, remove the 2 that were there by default rather than by decision. Before painting a wall a new color, live for 2 weeks with the furniture rearranged to understand what the room is actually doing before deciding what it needs. This sequence, remove before add, understand before change, is the approach that produces premium rather than the approach that produces busy. Every premium small apartment we have examined, from Tokyo to New York, shares the quality of having been edited rather than accumulated. The objects present are there because the objects that used to be there were removed, and the space created by their removal was found to be more valuable than the objects themselves. Premium in a small apartment is not achieved by finding the right things to add. It is achieved by having the conviction to remove the wrong things, and then the discipline to leave the space that remains empty rather than immediately filling it with something new. The storage philosophy of the premium small apartment in 2026 has converged on a principle that draws from Japanese concealment, New York architectural integration, and Scandinavian built-in mastery simultaneously. Storage that is visible is storage that was designed, and storage that is not visible does not exist to the eye. There is no middle ground in a premium small apartment. Objects on open shelving are arranged with the deliberateness of a gallery exhibition. Spaced, considered, lit, and present because they contribute something visual or meaningful rather than because they needed to go somewhere. Objects in closed storage are concealed completely, behind flush cabinet doors that read as wall, inside platform beds that read as furniture, within ottomans that read as seating. The visual field of the premium small apartment contains only what was intended to be seen. Everything else, the practical accumulation of daily life, the objects that are needed but not beautiful, the things that matter functionally but not aesthetically, exists behind surfaces that give no indication of what they hold. This is not deception. It is the specific generosity of a space that protects its inhabitant from visual demand. If someone designing a small apartment in 2026 had one investment to make, one area where additional budget would deliver the most premium result across the longest period of time, the answer, consistently and across every design culture we have examined, is the same: window treatment. Specifically, the transition from whatever is currently on the windows to floor-length panels in a genuine natural fabric, linen, cotton, or wool, hung as close to the ceiling as possible and falling to the floor with enough fabric to pull slightly. This single change simultaneously makes ceilings feel higher, windows feel larger, light feel softer, and the entire apartment feel more considered than any other single investment of comparable cost. The reason is perceptual before it is aesthetic. Floor-length panels hung at ceiling height alter three of the most important spatial perceptions simultaneously: the perceived height of the ceiling, the perceived size of the window, and the quality of light entering the room. No piece of furniture, no paint color, and no collection of accessories delivers this combination of perceptual impact from a single decision, which is why, in premium small apartments from Tokyo to New York to Paris, the window treatment is always the first thing noticed and the last thing changed. The premium small bedroom of 2026 has moved decisively away from the maximally styled, heavily accessorized bedroom of the previous decade. The carefully arranged cushion towers, the gallery walls above the headboard, the matching bedside lamp sets, and towards something that looks, at first glance, almost empty. A low bed frame in a genuine natural material, solid walnut, linen upholstered, forged steel, dressed in bedding that was chosen for how it feels rather than how it photographs. One light source on each side, wall-mounted to keep surfaces clear, at the exact height that makes them useful for reading without illuminating the ceiling. One piece of art above the bed, singular, significant, chosen because sleeping beneath it every night matters, rather than a composed arrangement. And cleared bedside surfaces holding only what is used nightly, because in a premium bedroom, the nightstand is not a display opportunity. This bedroom does not look styled. It looks decided, and in 2026, decided is the new premium. Step back and look at the whole apartment as one continuous, considered space. A palette chosen for what it communicates rather than what it coordinates with. Materials selected for their genuine quality rather than their approximate appearance. Lighting layered from multiple warm sources rather than delivered from a single overhead point. Storage either designed for display or concealed completely with nothing in between. One investment in floor-length natural fabric at the windows that changed the perception of the entire space. A bedroom that looks decided rather than styled. Nothing here was chosen because it seemed safe. Nothing is present by default. Everything was kept, actively and with conviction, because it contributes something genuine to the experience of living in this specific space. A quality achieved through the consistent application of one principle: that every decision in the space was made completely, all the way to the last detail, by someone who knew exactly what they wanted their home to feel like and had the patience to remove everything that stood between them and that feeling. Subscribe for a new interior video every week. And tell me in the comments, what is the one thing in your apartment right now that exists by default rather than by decision? And when are you finally removing it?